With only under a month and a half left into the release of the highly anticipated Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I think it's time I do a video on my predictions for the movie. This video will be dedicated specifically to my predictions for the movie rather than also including things that I just want to see. Since it's not out yet, we don't know for sure what will happen. This is only a prediction and it may be proven right or wrong when the movie comes out. I don't expect to get everything right in this video, I'll simply be discussing what I think makes sense based on the information we have. With that being said though, let me know in the comments what you predict for the FNAF movie, and also let me know, are you going to be watching the movie on digital when it comes out, or will you be going to see it in theaters? I'll be going to see it with my brother, sister, one of my friends, and maybe more in theaters, but let me know what you're going to do. But without further ado, let's get started. Back towards the end of 2020, Scott took to Reddit to announce the Mike screenplay for the FNAF movie, but along the way he decided to share the scrapped screenplays the movie could have had but didn't. One of these screenplays was based around the Silver Eyes. Scott had apparently spent about a year trying to make the movie based on the Silver Eyes work, but it didn't quite work out. Scott ultimately decided to make the movie based on FNAF 1 and use the Mike screenplay, which seems to be what the final product will be. Scott also said that the Mike screenplay actually took a lot of good elements from previous screenplays and was a good mix of all of them with pretty much no issues. It seems like the good that he took from the Silver Eyes was kind of a bunch of inspiration from the original book. Looking at the trailers for the FNAF movie, it seems pretty clear to me that there are a bunch of similarities between the movie and the Silver Eyes, but it's also different enough to make it distinct. Still, I think that it makes sense to look at the details connecting the two and see if we can use the Silver Eyes to kind of predict other parts of the movie, so long as they make sense within the context of the movie, of course. In the newest trailer for the movie, there's a scene where we see Abby in the arcade hiding behind an arcade machine, and in the background we see Foxy clearly searching for her. Some of you may not remember, but I do distinctly for a few reasons. One, it was the first scene of the Silver Eyes, and two, because of the Silver Eyes graphic novel dubs by Elementia Studios, which I was a part of, and I've watched the Silver Eyes one more times than I can count, and I saw that scene even more than that. The first scene of the book has Charlie hiding in the arcade behind an arcade machine, and Foxy is searching for her. The scene in the movie is pulled straight from the book, and I think that's definitely intentional to try to make us connect the two with each other. We also, of course, have the appearance of William Afton. In the movie, we find him with a new job separate from Freddy's, but also still connected to Freddy's, pretending to be a good guy and helping the main character with discovering the mysteries and stuff from Freddy's. But Afton here is actually using a fake name. Now, if you think about everything I just said, it actually perfectly aligns with Afton in the Silver Eyes. Obviously, things are different, that's a given, but they're very similar scenarios. Both of them have Afton pretending to be good and using their job disconnected from and yet still connected to Freddy's to help the main character get into Freddy Fazbear's Pizza while also using a fake name. In the case of the Silver Eyes, he's a security guard for the mall built over Freddy's and helps Charlie and the gang get inside, and he uses the name Dave Miller. In the case of the movie, he's a career counselor and helps Mike get the job at Freddy's using the fake name Steve Raglan. The two scenarios are very similar to one another, and I also don't think it's coincidental that later on in both storylines, Afton pops up in Freddy's wearing his Spring Bonnie costume, and while he's there, he also attacks a police officer. In the Silver Eyes, it's Officer Dunn, while in the movie, it's Vanessa. We can also tell this is Afton attacking Vanessa not only from the yellow color of the hand, but also because it has 5 articulating fingers. In a previous trailer, we also see Vanessa in the hospital, so that is very likely as a result of this Afton attack. So something happens to one of the main characters, which also happens in the Silver Eyes to Carlton. It's possible that Mike will have to return to Freddy's because of Abby being taken. Speaking of, another similarity between the two is the fact that Abby ended up getting taken away like Carlton did. However, there is of course a difference that Abby was taken by Golden Freddy, not Afton. But the fact that she was taken away by Golden Freddy and seems to think of him fondly indicates that she seems to have a connection with him. Who else do we know who has a connection with Golden Freddy? Carlton in the Silver Eyes. Maybe later on in the movie it'll be revealed that Golden Freddy is her brother Garrett, but that would have to rely on there being 2 spirits in Golden Freddy, which I personally believe, but we don't know for sure. I also don't know if they would reveal that in the movie, but if it is to be true, maybe they would. When Jason returns to Freddy's, the animatronics often focus on him, and the gang thinks that they're trying to hurt him, but in reality, they were trying to protect him because he's just a little kid just like them. In the movie, the animatronics are focused on Abby because she is a kid just like them, and Vanessa says they want to make her like them. But what if she's wrong? What if, like in the Silver Eyes, they're just trying to protect Abby? So yeah, there's a lot of similarities between these two storylines. Obviously they're not exactly the same, but I do think the movie took inspiration from the books. If that's the case though, it's interesting to note what else happens in the Silver Eyes. As we've already discussed, Afton shows up in his Spring Bonnie Springlock suit, but at the end of the book, Afton gets springlocked. The Spring Bonnie suit in the movie is tattered and missing an ear, just like Spring Bonnie in the final minigame of FNAF 3. So is it possible that we'll actually get to see Afton get springlocked in this movie? I personally think it would be awesome to see it as a fan of the series and knowing just what happens. It would be really interesting to see, and it would also be a really good setup for future movies in case they want to do sequels, which as of now are planned to happen. It's possible that the movie will have a post-credit scene, or maybe just a final scene where we see the crew of Fazbear's Fright finding him, setting up a movie about FNAF 3, though that may be a stretch. Either way, I think Afton getting springlocked will almost definitely happen. There's also a debate about the movie regarding whether or not Mike is an Afton. Mike Schmidt in the game's timeline is almost definitely Michael Afton, but the movie shows him having a mom and dad separate from the Aftons and doesn't seem to know who William Afton is. However, I think that Mike will end up being an Afton. To me, it would make sense if Mike had grown up without his real dad and maybe mom, making his parents in the movie his adopted parents. Or it's possible that Afton and Mike's mom divorced and she remarried, making Mike's dad actually his stepdad. Mike's family does line up well with the Afton family, considering he has a seemingly dead younger brother who he apparently feels guilty about, as well as a younger sister whose name is not only an anagram for baby, but also is an obscure nickname for Elizabeth. Obviously, Abby is more commonly a nickname for Abigail, but it can be one for Elizabeth. So the family matches up, the storyline would make sense, and there's also Mike's aunt. Mary Stuart Masterson was originally said to be playing an unnamed villain, but more recently she was revealed to be Mike's weird Aunt Jane. Would make sense for her to be a villain if her brother was William Afton, though that's just speculative and not confirmed. But all of this does line up really well. It could serve as a really cool twist, revealing near the end of the movie that Afton is Mike's real dad, but Mike possibly having to make the choice to go against his own father. I think it would be really cool. But that's basically the whole theory, so now let's put it together and try to see if we can predict what will happen in the FNAF movie. Keep in mind this is theoretical, but I'll be explaining it narratively, so just keep that in mind. The movie begins with a security guard at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. He's just doing the regular things he does during his shift, but the animatronics end up attacking him and stuffing a Freddy Fazbear mask onto his face, killing him as the title card appears. The main character of the movie is of course Mike. He works to take care of his younger sister, Abby, who has grown up without her parents and has learned to not rely on Mike. Obviously he tries his best, but he's not entirely reliable. Abby also has a babysitter named Max. Mike currently works as a security guard at a mall and he uses the money to take care of Abby, though it's not much. One night, Max, along with two guys named Hank and Carl and one other guy whose name is unknown, break into the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, wrecking the place. But while they're there, all of them get attacked by the animatronics, and Max even sees what she believes to be a child luring her to Freddy Fazbear. She tries to look inside Freddy's mouth before a human hand reaches out. All four of these characters end up dead, or publicly missing. Mike's career counselor Steve Raglan, who was really William Afton undercover, had told Mike he'd found him a security job at the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, as the old guard is of course now dead and the spot is open, though he doesn't tell Mike that part. Even still, Mike had said no since he works as a security guard at the mall currently, but one day he loses his temper and beats the crap out of someone. This, of course, causes him to lose his job at the mall. Now he's receiving no income and calls Steve Raglan, or Afton as we know him, and asks if the security guard position is still open. It is, and Mike gets the job. He brings Abby to the pizzeria with him because Max, her babysitter, is now missing and can't take care of her while Mike is at work, so Mike has to take her with him. Quickly, he realizes that this isn't the right place for a 10-year-old, or anyone for that matter. On his first night, Mike finds that the animatronics move at night, but he didn't really think anything of it. He thought that they had just been wandering and didn't find it too weird. As the nights progress though, Mike starts getting visions of children in a forest wearing costumes similar to the animatronics. The stage show even starts playing one night, and as they progress, the animatronics begin getting almost aggressive. On the third night, a police officer named Vanessa comes to the pizzeria and kind of provides insight into what happened here at Freddy's, as well as the spirits possessing the animatronics thing. Mike doesn't really believe in it, at least until the fourth night, and the animatronics do continue to get more aggressive, but it's manageable. On the fourth night, the animatronics really get a lot more aggressive and they try to take Abby. Vanessa tells Mike that they want to make Abby like them, and Mike asks how to stop them. Vanessa says that he can't and that he is coming. That night, a tattered yellow rabbit animatronic appears, hurts Vanessa, Abby gets taken by Golden Freddy, Vanessa gets taken to the hospital, and Abby hangs out with Golden Freddy and they become best friends and find Corey X Kenshin and stuff. Night 5, Mike has to go back to Freddy's because of Abby, who probably ends up back at Freddy's with Golden Freddy, finding out that they weren't trying to hurt her and they were just trying to protect her. Mike ends up learning the truth that Steve Raglan is the yellow bunny thing, everything, and it's revealed that he's actually William Afton. Afton also reveals that he is Mike's father. At first, Mike doesn't really believe him, but he also just thinks that Afton is a psychopath. Abby ends up in Afton's grasp, she ends up free, Afton gets spring-locked, fast forward, and people find him locked away. Oh yeah, and throughout the movie we get flashbacks of Mike and his brother and his parents and stuff. The end. That's essentially how I think the movie will go. Obviously, it's hard to determine just how things will go, but that's the basic outline that I think the movie could follow. Since the movie isn't coming out for another month and a half, we'll have to wait until then to know if I'm right. I'm sure I'm not right entirely, I could be mostly wrong, who knows, but I think this storyline makes sense. But what do you guys think? What do you think is going to happen in the FNAF movie? Let me know in the comments, and if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys!